According to the Harvard Business Review, 48% of salespeople are afraid to make phone calls. You might be in the wrong business. The Harvard Business Review is one of my favorite places to read about business, to learn about statistics. The people there obviously know what's going on. And this morning I was reading a report that came out that said 48% of salespeople, according to them, according to the Harvard Business Review, are afraid to make phone calls. And as a result of that, they have trouble meeting their goals or hitting their sales quota, depending on what business they're in, and they make less money than their counterparts who are not afraid of making calls. So knowing all of this, I was recently at the Tom Ferry Summit, saw a couple great takeaways here that I'm going to share, but there was a quote out there, and I don't remember who said it, that nothing happens until someone sells something in business. And what ends up happening, the reason behind this fear is, one, people are afraid to sound like a salesperson, and two, they're afraid of failure. There's this fear around the 48% of salespeople not wanting, liking, or getting excited about making phone calls. And when you think about this, the first one, fear of sounding like a salesperson, in my view, sales is an honorable profession. Of course you get a bad rap, just like every other profession. We know realtors, there's an 87% failure rate. But when you go to a dentist, you want the dentist to sound like a dentist, right? When you go to a mechanic, you want the mechanic to sound like a mechanic. A programmer sounds like a programmer. So there's nothing wrong with sounding like a salesperson. And that's a mindset shift. And to me, it's you're helping people get into a home. You're helping people navigate one of the most stressful things that are out there, those experiences of moving. So why not lean into, this is an honorable profession where I get the chance to help people and be well compensated for it. So sounding like a salesperson isn't a bad thing, and it might be a scripting issue for a lot of people where they're not role playing regularly, they're not practicing their script, so it sounds very salesy off the bat. So that's number one. And then secondly, if you look at the case studies of the people that role play and they use things like feel, felt, found, and they study and become a student of the sales business, they don't sound scripted. They don't sound like salespeople. They sound like a guide through a stressful process. So you almost have to kind of eliminate that, number one. And then number two, the fear of failure. And this one has a lot of statistics tied to it. So there's an easy way not to fail at sales by making phone calls. One is, and I got this from the Tom Ferry Summit. We're going to put the slide up here. Nick, I'll give it to you as soon as we get done. From the DJ and Lindsay team down in Jacksonville, Florida, and pretty much the whole state of Florida at this point, spoke at the Titans of Conversion panel at the Tom Ferry Success Summit. And what they did is they did something really simple that was super impactful for all our team members that showed up, as well as the people in the audience. They showed their leaderboard for their salespeople who have spoken to the most people, who've had the most conversations. And then magically, those are the same people who had the most pending sales and the most closed sales. If you have a fear of failure, you're not going to get over that fear by not talking to people and shutting down and getting into paralysis. The only way to overcome it is practice, role play, and then execute and have real estate conversations. That's what work is in real estate, talking to potential buyers and talking to potential sellers. And that was a real aha moment for a lot of people in the audience. So one way to overcome that fear of failure is make sure you're just having a lot of conversations. If you've got downtime, you have nothing going on, pick up the phone and talk to more people. It's literally that simple. And then secondly, Daryl Dixon from Colorado, he was on this Titans of Conversion panel as well, and he shared another Harvard Business Review report that showed the best time to make phone calls is between 8 and 11 and 4 to 6. And it's something that we hear all the time, and people just don't want to do it. So when I'm looking at this fear of failure, or the 48% of salespeople that don't want to get on the phone, maybe you're not working smart enough. Use the data that's out there. I didn't come up with this. The Harvard Business Review did. Follow their advice. Talk to as many people as you can in those time blocks. If you don't have appointments set up, call more people later in the day, because the third takeaway from the summit was this. A lot of people asked, well, what schedule do I follow? And the schedule was the one everyone tells us to follow, which is make calls in the morning, prospect in the morning, follow up in the morning, and then go on appointments in the afternoon. Keep it simple, because simple wins in this business. And those three takeaways of who's talking to the most people, who's calling at the optimum times, and who's running a time block schedule, all from these different experts in the business or different business experts, period, whether it's high performing teams or the Harvard Business Review, it says it all. So the only thing that's getting in the way is you prioritizing that time for yourself, because we're all in business to make money and have a great life outside of work. And if you're not working smarter and over-indexing on the things that matter most, especially in a shifting market like this, you're going to be part of that 87% that fail, which is way more than the 48% who are afraid of making phone calls.